Hi audience, my name is Fei Yan. This is my midterm project for Professor Wheeler's class CIS 9467. Today I'll be showing you the advancement of e-commerce from the retail world. E-commerce is not a new word nowadays. Especially 2020 is a special year that we're all together and experiencing the lifestyle change. People are changing most of the life parts from offline to online. So I picked the e-commerce as my topic. I will be talking about the overview of the whole retail world. Then there will be a closer look of e-commerce that compare with the total retail market and non-store retailers. Then I will compare the e-commerce data 2019 versus 2020. In the last, I'll be sharing a little trick that I figured out when I was doing the project. Firstly, I will show you my data sources. Most of my data are from the U.S. Census Bureau, and I also use eMarketers and Statista as my sources. To start with, I will show you an overview of the whole retail world. As you can see from the motions, there are some categories are increasing by time, especially for the auto and other model vehicles. It's always leading the sales. But there is a significant backward move for all industries on 2008. So we all know it was the financial crisis and most of the industries are affected. From 2008, they are slowly recovering and growing until 2020, the COVID-19. As you can see, it's growing, and then until 2019, it's going back. But the whole picture is still looking good and has a better shape than 2008. And since 2013, the gasoline station is now growing with the auto market, as we can see from here. It's usually going along with the auto market and then it's going back, now following. So the gas station is now going with the auto market in the same pace as before. It should because of the electronic cars is in notice in 2013 and accepted by the market. Let's play this again. As you can see, there is a dark horse running into my eyes. You can see this blue is growing, which is non-store retailers. It's growing big, and until 2020, it went to second place. So non-store retailers include vending machine operators, home delivery sales, door-to-door sales, etc., and the electronic shopping, the e-commerce. Let's now go to the next sheet. In this graph, we can see that e-commerce sales are growing year by year within the non-store retailer sales category and is sharing the pie of the total non-retailer sales year by year. As you can see, it's growing bigger. And until 2020, it went back a little bit. Okay, we can also see the change from the bar chart and the line chart. As it showed in the chart from 1999 to 2015, e-commerce sales percentage is fast growing, as you can see, and it slowed down and became steady from 2016 to 2019, then dropped almost 10%, $0.2 million from 2019 to 2020. As you can see from here to here, dropped 0.2 million almost. Okay, this graph shows the slopes of the e-commerce sales and the total retail sales by year. We can see that total retail sales moves more dramatic than the e-commerce. During the pandemic, even though the total retail sales has a dramatic drop here, compared with that, the overall e-commerce is doing a relatively better performance during the pandemic because the line dropped relatively gentle. This is another graph that shows the chronological change of the total retail sales versus e-commerce sales. We can see that in 2020, even though the bar is shorter, e-commerce is taking more percentage in the whole retail sales market compared to the previous years. Now let's see the dashboard. In the first one, I made a bar graph showing the sales of all the retail industry by year, as you can see from here. And we can see that there's some steady stage in the history of the non-store retailers. And we can see now we're at the plateau stage. But non-store retailers are having growing trend in the big picture, as you can see. And in this pie graph, we can check each year's portion of e-commerce versus non-store retailers. And we can see from 1999 to 2020 that the percentage of e-commerce grows from 3% to 34%. And let's move to this chart. This line chart is showing the percentage change for the total retail and the e-commerce from the same quarter a year ago. I circled the 2008. Of course, it's really hard to ignore, right? And we can see in 2020, the percentage change is not too significant for e-commerce compared to the last year's same quarter. But for total retail sales, you can see it dropped a little bit more obvious than the e-commerce. And let's look at this chart. This graph shows the e-commerce percentage change from the same quarter a year ago and from the prior quarter. And we can see the blue bar and the red line. We can see from the prior quarter after 2008, they are going very steady and even have a trend to increase. That means under the pandemic, people are using more electronic channels quarter by quarter. So this is a bright sign for me because there are also more chance to grow and develop the e-commerce. Now let's take a closer look of the e-commerce sales by product category. We can see that the computer and consumer electronics product are leading the sales within the e-commerce sales, and the apparels and accessories is following the lead. Furniture and home furnishing is starting to be outstanding and is at third place in the graph. So it seems like the office equipment and the supplies is on the bottom, but it also shows that this market size is very steady and stable. It also seems hard to have a sales breakthrough. This bar graph is showing how sales performance of the total e-commerce and the total store and non-store sales from 2019 to 2020. We can see that e-commerce from 2019 to 2020 doesn't shrink as much as the total retailers. So e-commerce is hanging in there because customers are changing their shopping channels from offline to online under the pandemic influences. The last graph shows the e-commerce sales from 2019 to 2020 by category. We can see that clothing and the general merchandise was leading the market in 2019. But in 2020, the furniture, building materials, and electronics exceeding and became the top sales industry in 2020 so far. So we still have a quarter left and it will be fun to see who's winning the race. Surprisingly, health and the personal care products doesn't boost that much sales through e-commerce during the pandemic. I think maybe it's the inventory are not sufficient during the pandemic online and people tend to go to a store to buy those products. Also, since people are working and studying from home, and in some degree, this live format will slow down the consumptions of the personal care products. Thanks for watching, but do not leave because there's a bonus. So I have one little tip to share with you guys. When we are doing the power view, I believe some of you guys might having the same issue as I did. Sometimes, as you see here, the power view will summarize my year. And when I see something like this, my face will turn into this. Well, I'm having the same face like my cat, but don't worry. When you see something like this, they are summarizing your year. There are two ways. They're very simple. So before you're generating the graph from the power view, go to the side in the field list and then click year and check do not summarize. Then we can see the year is clear, and we can also do it for the quarter. You see the quarter has the calculation in front. We don't want that, so we click the arrow and then do not summarize. Boom, you will see the quarter, a clear quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. This is not very convenient because every time you want to change this, you have to go to this field list and do the change setting. There's another way that it will be permanent for a specific table. So I'll go to the data source. This is the source for the previous Power View I showed you. So simply we can use Power View and go to Manage. Then we will go to our database list. See? And then we can go click the year and go Advanced and make sure it's not default because we do not want to summarize it anytime, right? So we just click do not summarize and we close it. And also remember to go back to the Power View and let's click here and remember to refresh the data. By this way, your years will not be summarized. And thanks for watching.